Okay, so today I'm going to cover how to read the bot input data from a SQL database, which means so let's say config. Okay, how to read config data from a SQL database. So we have created a flow which reading the config file within a project folder. Okay, within a project folder I have a config xlsx. So inside config xlx, I will show you that as well. Okay, here you see config xlx. So previously we designed the flow to read data from this excel. Okay, config xlsx. Then we utilized in the same the input to other workflows using dictionary variables. Okay, that's you are aware of now. So sometime there will be a different approach to read config file. You can keep your config file within a project folder, or you can keep your config file somewhere else in the share drive folder. That share drive you can access from you can use some activity to read that file from the share drive. Okay, that's how also you can keep your config file. And a few client they will have a dedicated SQL database, and so there we can keep our config data, and we can retrieve those data to the bot. Okay, that is the third approach. Okay, so now I'm going to create a workflow for this third approach, and let's say I have a three tables here, different table. One is settings and constant. Okay, if I execute this, and you will see here name, value, process name, description. Okay, so here you see name column, value, process name, description. And the process name, there is a there are different processes. Okay, let's say as a developer, and we may create a number of processes, right? So that time we need to add this process name also in our DB. Okay, this particular config value is related to this particular process name, and this particular this particular key and value related to product analysis, and some of them for server monitor. Okay, that is how we can load all your process config into one table. Okay, you can keep one table. And also I created one more a table, that is assets. It's a similar like how we build config which is it's it has settings, constant, and asset, and email template, right? The same thing we need to build a three different table. But the only thing is, if we go with a config, and we will keep separate config for each process. Here we are going to maintain only one table for all the process. Okay, but we are mentioning the process name here. And asset, I have a table asset, and also execute this, and I have a email template table here, and the key name is take care. I mean, I have a key name column, subject, and email body, and here also I have a process name. Okay, that's good. Now we have a three table. And how can I connect those three tables, and how can I retrieve those data from the SQL DB? That I will show you. Go to your studio. Okay, this is init all settings, which is getting the data from the config xlsx, right, from the spreadsheet. Now instead of this, I'm going to modify, instead of creating a new flow, I'm going to modify this. Okay, it's very simple. Let me copy this. Okay, init all settings, right? Let me copy this and paste it. Okay, and here init all settings, init all settings. Let me refresh it. Init all setting, and okay, init all settings, and let me rename it like rename init all settings underscore db config. Okay, I renamed it. So here as usual, so we are adding the log message, and in the initial stage we can add a log level as info and the workflow name, and the initializing setting started. Okay, that is we added. And then after that, what we are doing here, we are initializing our dictionary variable, right? Okay, fine. In order to get data from the database, and already you are aware of, and we need to initialize a DB connection, right? DB connection first, right? So go to activity panel and database, and drag and drop connect to database. Okay, and which required a couple of informations, and that is we need to initialize our connection string. So click on the configure connection and click on connection wizard, and select SQL server, and now select your server name, and wait for it. If you click the drop down, and it will take some time to give you a server name, and or else you can go to your DB and right click and click on connect and copy this server name. Okay, and come back to studio, and again click on wizard and select data source SQL server, Microsoft SQL server, and add your server name. And here I'm going to use SQL server authentication, and here I'm going to use my username and password. Okay, here if you click this drop down, and you will get all your database. I'm going to use this UiPath database, and click on test connection. Your test connection is succeed, then click on OK and click on OK. Now here I hard coded the username and password. Now I'm going to get my username and password from the orchestrator. Okay, use get credential here, and so use your orchestrator folder path. So let's say I'm going to HR department. Before that, let me open my orchestrator. Okay, so this is my tenant, and here so go to HR department and check asset. Is there anything like yeah, here it is SQL server credentials I have as asset. I'm going to use the same and go back to UiPath Studio, and in the HR department, and what is the asset name? The asset name is server SQL server credential, and get your username and password, Control K, SQL username, and here SQL Control K, SQL password. Okay, now I got the credentials, and I'm going to pass it within this connection string. Okay, and first I'm going to remove my username. I'm going to add double quotes and plus and SQL username. Okay, and the password, I'm going to remove this password. Okay, the same like we have already added like that. There is we need to add a small syntax within double quotes plus so we need to call new system dot net network credentials, and open bracket string. Okay, string and dot pmt comma, and you need to call your password, that is here it is not, so you need to call SQL password. That is the variable we have it, right? SQL password, and close bracket, then dot password. Okay, and that's it. So this is the syntax to pass your secure string to string, and click OK. Now everything is okay, and even you can get this 1 second. So we have a server name, right? Even server name you can get it from the asset. Okay, I'm going to copy the server name and going back to orchestrator, and I'm creating one more asset, that is server SQL server name, and that is text, and add the server name, and add description, and label, and click on create. Okay, now go back to studio and drag and drop data set. Okay, so data set, the thing is we should not hard code anything. Okay, and orchestrator folder path, select your orchestrator folder path, and select your asset name, that is SQL server name, and get it and store it in a variable control K SQL server name. Okay, go to configure connection and open it and remove your server name, within double quotes, within plus, and add a server name, SQL server name. Okay, that's done. So now we have initialized the database connection, and so now I'm going to create a variable, that is database connection DB connection. Okay, that is done. Now we successfully connected our database. So now go here, and in this place we are initializing our dictionary, and so here we are reading each sheet. Okay, there is a in config and there is a sheet data I mean the settings and constant, and we are reading one by one, right? But in our case now we have a one table, which is we have a one table settings and constant, and we can straight away we can call this table. Okay, no need to do loop and all. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to drag and drop this read range. Okay, and this for each, and this right line also. Okay, I'm going to delete this for each. No, not required this for each. Now here I have a data table, dt settings and constant. This particular activity I used to get the config from my project folder. Okay, there is a project folder data under temp, there is a config. I'm using this read range to read this config. Right now I'm not going to use this read range workbook, because I want to get the data from my SQL database, right? So I'm going to delete this. Okay, I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to drag and drop the database activity run command. Okay, not run command, sorry, and run query, because we are retrieving the data, right? And so drag and drop run query. Okay, and this is this run query for settings. Okay, or you can go here and call the data table, that is settings and constant, which is already we used in the read range workbook, right? And same table. So I'm going to use the same connection, db connection, and in the query. Okay, in the query, and what is the query I need to write? Okay, let's say this particular process is about server monitor. Okay, this particular process about server monitor. Okay, and I want to get only the server monitor data. Okay, the config data. Then I can go here. Let's say the initial while you do init all settings, and you can add a one more assign activity. You can store it a process name, because your process name is standard, right? You can create variable and process name, enter, and go here okay, process name, and here the process name I'm going to add it like server name. So let me go here and server monitor. Okay, copy this and paste it, server monitor, and this is done. And coming here in this config connection, before that we need to build the query and we need to test it whether it is working or not. So instead of getting all the data, I am going here and writing new query, select a star from settings and constant, and where this star it's star about get all the column. Okay, get all the column, and where process name, okay, where process name equal within double quotes server monitor. Server monitor. And if I execute this, okay, if I execute this, and you will get only the server monitor. Now my query is working fine, and copy this query and go back to studio and click on edit query. Okay, make it your expression window big, and here I have to paste it within double quotes, and this is my query, and select star from settings and constant where the process name. Here I can remove this hard code, within double quotes, within plus you can add your variable, that is process name. Okay, done. So what I'm doing here, instead of if you are adding like read range, if you add like read range, what it will do, you will provide your you will provide your Excel path and sheet name. It will get the data and store it in a data table. Okay, the same thing it's this run query also it's doing, and it's getting the data because we pass that connection. Okay, we pass that database connection, and it's getting the data and storing into DT settings and constant data table. Now everything is simple, right? So from the DT and constant data table, okay, I'm going to store all the values one by one into dictionary variable. Am I correct? And then finally, just now I'm checking input folder path. Let's say whether this particular server monitor, it's having the input folder path. Yeah, there is a input folder path key, and we are checking that input folder path key whether coming or not. Okay, this is done. So now okay, now the settings and constant is over, and so now we are moving into the asset part. Okay, the asset part also we are using this read range workbook because the previously we used to read the data from the config. Now it's a different thing. So now you are going we are going to use the same run query here. Okay, and so connect the call the existing connection, DB connection, and so this is for asset. This is for asset. Okay, and so here if you read and if you use read range workbook for read the Excel data, and there will be a DT asset, the same table name I am going to give DT asset, and I'm going to delete this. Okay, and now I'm going to write the query, the same query, select star from where the process name. So instead of settings and constant, I have to give this asset table. Okay, and so now let's check that asset and execute it, and there is no asset for this particular process name. Okay, so let's see what are the process name available here. The product analysis, and let's see template, and here also product analysis. Okay, let's take it product analysis because we have a data for all the three table. Okay, I'm going to change the process name here. Instead of server monitor, I'm going to change it like product analysis. Now okay, now I'm going to change it here also, product analysis, and execute it, and we have a asset Amazon URL, price before URL, PTA login, and copy the same and go back to studio and click on edit query. Okay, and just add it within a double quotes, and see, select star from assets where the process name product analysis, and remove that hard code and add a double quotes, add a plus, and here you need to add a process name. Okay, that's it. So now we got the data DT assets, and from the DT assets, and we are coming in, we are checking that entire thing. So here is name, and let's check whether the column name is name. Okay, and asset orchestrator folder and product name and descriptions are there. And then how we are storing, we are getting the asset, and okay, so here we are getting the asset name and orchestrator folder, and that's come from asset name comes from the row of assets, this one, and orchestrator folder path. Okay, so here I given the asset name orchestrator folder path for a credentials. Okay, okay, so then here okay, so there is a login credentials, that's what I used here. There is a if statement, and let's say, and so here one credential, one PTA login credential is there, and here the remaining values are its asset text, okay, string value. So what I did, so first I taken the asset name, okay, the asset name, then orchestrator folder I taken asset name and orchestrator folder. Okay, asset name is Amazon URL, orchestrator folder is finance department. Okay, and then here after taking that, here I'm checking in the if statement whether the asset name is PTA login. If it is a PTA login, I'm going into if statement. I'm storing that PTA login username credentials. I mean username password. Okay, that is a one credentials. Then if it is not, and go here in the else part, go and load all the asset in the value. So both I'm storing into I mean all the asset string values I'm storing into dictionary variable. Okay, and this particular credential I'm storing into separate variable. Okay, that's it. And so here I have a different asset name, I mean the different orchestrator folder finance department, and I will update it to later HR department. Okay, and that's it for read asset. Okay, I'm going to collapse this, and the read config asset is over. Okay, now I'm going into read config email template. Here also same story, and I'm going to remove this. Already I have a data table here. I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to drag and drop run query, and I'm going to call existing connection db connection, and the provider name now, and so that's it. And the table, data table, I'm going to call dt email template. Okay, and the same query I need to use. Go back here and use this query for select star from email. Okay, email template where the process name product analysis. Okay, now I have two key and values and two rows, and I'm going to use the same there in the studio. Okay, in the edit query, and within double quotes I'm adding it, and so here remove this, and within double quotes plus and the process name. Okay, I'm not doing much modification, only I'm removing that read range workbook activity, and I'm replacing the run query activity. Okay, that's it. So this is for email template. Okay, this is for email template, and we are getting the email template value, and we are moving here, and here the column name it was key, but here in our table there is a key name subject email body, and let's see, I'm going to change it now, key name, and click on save, and here subject and email body, let's check whether it is a subject and email body. Yeah, that is correct. and click on OK, and that is storing in a tuple dictionary variable. Okay, and this is done. And the one more thing, in the asset only we have a different folder. So either we need to change the folder or we need to update the query. So let's say I'm going into asset. This PTA login, it should come from the Amazon URL price before, but orchestrator folder is the finance department. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm here, the HR department is there, right? So okay, let me change it here itself. Update query, I can use update query here, or okay, it will be great if I show you one more a method how to create a folder here. So here you have a HR department, and you need one more folder because I have a different orchestrator folder name in my database, and I'm going to tenant. I'm click on folder, and then click on this new folder icon, and add your finance department folder, and then click on create. Okay, so let's say uh, somebody working for finance department and somebody working for HR department, and who are working for finance department, and they will keep their asset there in the finance department, right? So that's it. So I'm going into finance department and click on assets, and these are the assets only sitting in the finance department. Okay, I'm going to copy this asset name, Amazon URL, and so let's create and Amazon URL and sorry, and click on text, and here you can provide your Amazon URL. Okay, this is for some just for retrieving the value. I'm showing the demo, and so assume that these are the asset you are going to use in your process. That is ready, and the other asset is about price before URL. Copy that and go back to your orchestrator and create a new asset, price before URL. That is also string, and you can give any URL. I'm going to give this URL. Okay, and click on create, and PTA login is there, right? And go back here and copy this and come back and create a new asset, and PTA login, that is a credentials, and I'm going to use some username is student, and password is something like this. Okay, and create it. Okay, so or else if I run this flow, and it will throw an error if there is no asset or there is no orchestrator folder. Okay, now everything is done. Let's execute and try. Here I have checked the input folder path, and in the read config asset I'm checking the price before URL and as output, and here in the read config email template I'm checking credential error, something like this. Okay, now I'm going to execute, and one more thing, and we have initialized the database connection, and the same we need to disconnect at the end. Okay, and so I'm going to disconnect my database. Okay, so you can call your DB connection. Okay, and now I'm going to execute it. Okay, let's see, and step into, and now the process name product analysis is stored in the variable, and the SQL database credential got retrieved from the orchestrator, and the get asset it's retrieved the server name, and it's executed the connect to database, and the database connection it's executed and it's going inside. So here it's initializing the config, and see in the DT settings there is no data as of now in the DT settings, right? Null. And execute this, and now you see in the DT settings and constant data table, and there is your data. okay, so which is having only product analysis. Okay, click on OK and step into okay, click on step into, and so storing all the values, okay, one by one. So in the dictionary, so here you see dictionary 2, and now if I execute it, become it's 3. Okay, it means it's storing the value. So I'm going back one step, and I will place a breakpoint here in this right line and click continue. Now there are 7 dictionary variables stored from the settings and constant, process name, and including the constant data. And there for the testing purpose, I have placed one right line to test whether it is okay. The given key input folder path was not present in the dictionary. Okay, and go to this product analysis, execute it. Okay, so here there is no key for this process name, so I cannot test it. So let me take, like, this system exception CC. Okay, going back and stop your bot, and I'm going to change the key here to test the execution, and again step into and click on continue. Now I'm doing step into. Now you see the email, it retrieved from the database. Now it's going into asset part, and the asset part also, the asset table, the DT asset null, and if I execute, then now you see in the DT asset, okay, in the DT asset you can see the values. Okay, these are the DT asset related to the process name, and execute it, and now it's storing the asset name. Okay, the asset name is Amazon URL, and the folder orchestrator folder name is finance department. Okay, so I'm telling that I have a database. Okay, so this is the asset, right? Asset, and I have a database. Under the process name, I have a asset name and orchestrator folder, finance. Go to the finance folder. Okay, go to the finance department folder and look at the asset name and get the value from the orchestrator. So that's what now I'm trying to say. Asset name I retrieved, and orchestrator folder I got, and then I'm going inside. I'm going inside. I'm checking whether my asset name is PTA login or not, because I have one credentials there, right? So I'm stepping into, there is no PTA login. Then I am extending this, and it's going into get asset. Okay, and it's storing. Now you see in the out config, asset, it's added 8. Okay, which means added the asset. Again step into, and again check for the other next asset. The asset name is now price before URL. Then now also it should go to else part. Okay, now the asset name is okay, it's coming in, and now the asset name is PTA login, and if it is a PTA login, then I'm going inside then statement, I'm getting the credentials. Okay, I stored into these two variable. This two variable you can pass through argument, and you can utilize somewhere else, or else no. If you don't want to keep this particular PTA login asset in the asset table, you can keep it in directly orchestrator, and you can use this get credential wherever you want to use it. In the specific workflow you can use it. Okay, step into, and now it should go to this part. Okay, it's coming out, and now I added, like, price before URL, it's printed, and it should go to next block, reconfig. The same thing, it's it's read all the data from the email template, that you can see here a DT, what is the table name, and DT email template, and you can see a DT email template. It's retrieved all the data from the database, and the step into, and now it's going inside if. So it says key does not belongs to the table. Okay, so I forgot to change the name here, column name. Okay, so again go here, and the subject email body is okay, and it should be key name. My column name is key name. Okay, so now let me go back and place a breakpoint, because already we tested everything. I will now put a breakpoint here, and I will remove this, and again I'm doing step into, continue. Okay, it's read for read email template as well. And now if I click step into, and you see the out conf email template credential error, so it's written that no credential error key item 1, that is the subject, and the item 2, it's printed your body of the content. Okay, then it's disconnecting your database. Okay, that's it. So very simple. So previously we used we built this init all setting using this config file directly from Excel. Now we have a data from we have a data in SQL database, and now we are now retrieving the data from the SQL database. That's it, and we are retrieving and we are using it in the same way. That is a different. Okay, so based on your client requirement, and you can approach the you can no you can uh, follow any approach. Okay, you can follow any approach. You can follow reading the Excel from the project folder, or you can follow the approach where you can read your config file from shared drive folder, or you can follow this approach, or you can follow the other approach called storage bucket. Okay, that I will tell you later.